Here. We are so excited to welcome you all to American University soon, whether you're a new student or new family member joining us this weekend, or you're a returning student or family member coming back to us super soon. We cannot wait to see you all and really appreciate y'all being here. So tonight, obviously, we're going to learn all about DC thanks to our awesome partners over here from Destination DC. So this will be a really, really fun webinar about how you can get involved within the DC community throughout your time here at American. So I'm going to pass it over to Lindsay and Georgia. I just want to thank them for being here. We really much appreciate it and look forward to all you're going to present to our American University family. There is a Q&A, so if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to throw your questions in there and we'll be happy to address them either throughout or at the end. But I'm going to pass it over to Lindsay and Georgia.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you. We are super excited to be here and share with you some of the things that DC has to offer you right off campus. My name is Georgia Lucas. I am the Visitor Experience Manager with Destination DC, and with me today is Lindsay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lindsay Hill. I am the Director of Visitor Experience and Group Tour. We both work for Destination DC, which is the destination marketing organization for Washington, DC, which is just really a fancy term for the tourism board for the city. So we get the very fun job of telling visitors about all the great things to do in Washington, D.C. We are your destination experts. So we're so happy to give you a little sneak peek into what makes D.C. so very special and some exciting things to look forward to for this upcoming year. So we are a nonprofit 501c6 organization, and we are member-based. So within DC, we have over 1,000 members that represent everything from hotels to transportation to tour companies to restaurants and museums and the like. So we're really, really excited to share some of our members with you today.
Well, we say that a great place to visit is also a great place to live. So just because we're the tourism office, don't think that you're not a local, that you can't learn things from us. And one of the things that we always like to talk about, especially for new residents in the city, is simply how to get around. So maybe this is basic for you, maybe this is new information, but DC is surrounded by two states, Maryland and Virginia. It's not a part of either state, it's its own separate entity. And it's home to about 700,000 people, and we get 27.2 million visitors a year. You can see from this map here that DC is serviced by three airports. One of the best parts of living here is we're really well connected to the rest of the country and the rest of the world. So both DCA Reagan Airport and IAD Dulles International Airport are on our metro system. You can get to them by train. And Baltimore Washington Airport is also connected via Amtrak and regional train. It takes maybe 45 minutes to get from BWI to Union Station. Union Station is one of the most beautiful buildings in DC, and it's also the second busiest train station in the US. So you have a lot of great opportunities to connect Union Station to our local metro system, but to also connect out to Amtrak. We're on the East Coast. We are about 3 or 3.5 hours by train to New York City. If you take a bus, which is another option, kind of generally the prices tend to be a little lower. If you take the bus, that's going to be about 4.5 hours. And we also, the train system extends south. So if you ever want to head down to Richmond or something like that, this is all connected via Amtrak.
The wonderful thing about DC is that we actually are a very small city with a lot to do. So there's a lot compacted into a small area. We are only about 10 miles square. And it used to be a full square. It's now this like weird little diamond shape. It's because Virginia took back their land after many years, but we'll forgive them for that. But once you know a few common guidelines, it's pretty easy to navigate. What you see here on this map, this main green area is the National Mall. You have your Lincoln Memorial over here, the Washington Monument, the White House, and the US Capitol. So the US Capitol is actually the center of the city where the four quadrants break out. So you have northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast that all emanates from Capitol Hill itself. Streets go north to south, A to Z, and from west to east are numbers. And so the biggest thing to really know about DC is that when you're talking about addresses, always make sure you have the right quadrant in your addresses, because First Street Northwest can be very different than First Street Southwest. So just keep that in mind when you're kind of navigating the city. I also wanted to just give you a little bit of semblance of where American University is, the campus, in regards to the rest of the city. So you'll see here what I'm sort of circling, that's where the campus is located. You'll see the National Mall is not too far away. The tidal basin where the cherry blossoms bloom every year, the Capitol over on this side. And you'll see some key landmarks and attractions in the city that are very close to the campus, including the cathedral. We have Hillwood Estate, as well as the Smithsonian National Zoo and the Krieger Museum. And the American University is right on a metro line, the Red Line, which is the Tenleytown Metro, near the Cleveland Park neighborhood. We have a very accessible and extensive public transit system, which we call the Metro. The Metro includes both the train system, which is underground primarily, but also overground, as well as our bus system. So you'll see the map here. It's very simple. There's only a few colors that you have to know. And in terms of directions, everything is sort of told to you by the end of the line. So you will be, if you're looking to head to the National Mall, it'll say red line towards Glenmont or other things, but that's sort of your basis. The American University campus is on the red line at Tenleytown, but you can see that's one of the major thoroughfares that gets you through the major downtown areas to all of your access points. And then to really keep in mind in terms of traveling in and out of the city, two of our major airports, the International Airport, Dulles International Airport, as well as Reagan National, are both metro accessible. And this is the newest phase over here, the Dulles International Airport on this Silver Line. So it does go directly to the airport now without needing any sort of taxi to arrive to the airport. Do make sure that you get your U-Pass, because this allows you to have unlimited metro train and bus trips throughout your semesters at American University, which is a fantastic perk.
I am very jealous of that U-Pass. Absolutely.
Mhm.
You also have a discounted annual membership for students for Capital Bike Share. So this is actually a lot of major cities have this now, the sort of the docks where you can pick up and leave bikes anywhere. DC was the first city to implement this. We have stations truly all over the city. It's so convenient to rent a bike, even just for a fun ride or to get from A to B. And for just $30, you get an annual membership. So $30 a year for unlimited rides throughout the city. The picture I have here is all regular bikes, but they have a ton of e-bikes in the fleet as well. So if you don't want to break a sweat, taking one of those e-bikes is such a great, efficient way to get around. DC also has a lot of scooter companies, the sort of pick up, leave anywhere scooters. So there's a lot of different apps you can download for that, and use those scooters to get from point A to point B as well. Don't forget, though, DC is one of the most walkable cities in America. A 20-minute walk is often the best way to get from point A to point B. We have beautiful, wide, clean streets, great sidewalks, so really just pleasant to walk around as well. The photo here is of the Georgetown waterfront. The Georgetown waterfront is also on our water taxi system. DC has two rivers, the Potomac and the Anacostia, and there's a lot of great ways to get out on the river, but one of the least expensive options is to take the Potomac water taxi. It connects connects Georgetown to the Wharf, to Old Town Alexandria, and to National Harbor with tickets as low as $21. Just a really fun way to see the city from the water.
All right. And yeah, I really promote the walking to really get to know your city. Many years ago, I won't tell you how many, I was a student at George Washington University, and most of the weekends I just chose a neighborhood and walked around and got lost. And I feel like I know the city very well from that. So walkability is really, really important. So what to experience? So DC is a lot of monuments, memorials, and federal buildings that we all know, but we also have an abundance of unique neighborhoods and over 80 museums. So there is truly so much to see and explore in DC, and hopefully within 4 years you can see most of it, but I challenge you to get to all of these museums, and there are new things arriving every year. One of the really wonderful perks about Washington, D.C. is that we have a built-in value add as we have so many free things. We have over 100 free things to do in the city, including festivals, parks and gardens, museums, all sorts of different kind of celebrations and events. All the federal government buildings open to the public, like the Capitol and the Library of Congress, are free to visit, and all of the 16 Smithsonian museums and the National Zoo, which has pandas and a new baby elephant, are free as well. You'll see here sort of a very minimalistic view of the neighborhoods of DC. The green strip you'll see, this very small area, is the National Mall, which most people think about when they think about DC. That is about 3 miles approximately. And that is, as you can see, a very small footprint of the actual DC area. DC as a city itself has an expansive amount of offerings, and each neighborhood has its own history and vibe. So don't be afraid to hop on that metro and explore the whole city. We're going to walk you through some of the more popular or neighborhoods where people really like to go out and adventure. The Wharf is the newest neighborhood that really takes advantage of our waterfronts. As Georgia mentioned, we have two rivers, and this wharf area really capitalizes on our waterfront area. It has outdoor events open to the public on the water, as well as kayaking, seafood, over 30 restaurants, and rooftop views. And there's so many things that happen at major points throughout the year, including a holiday boat parade, Mardi Gras parties, cherry blossom activities, and the like throughout the year. Chinatown is home to many of our popular museums, which may not be as well known, including the National Portrait Gallery, Ford's Theater, MLK Library, which is a great study spot on their roof, and nearby Planet Word and the brand new National Geographic Museum of Exploration. This is also the home of Capitol Home Arena, where our hockey team, the Capitals, and our men's pro basketball team, the Wizards, play. U Street, one of my personal favorites, is the historic home of Black Broadway. This is one of the areas where jazz was really created. One of our major jazz joints, the Howard Theater, was actually in existence before the Apollo Theater in New York City. So this is a big name jazz age area where musicians and artists gathered and performed. You'll find amazing history in between beloved local dining institutions. It is definitely a must to visit the newly renovated Ben's Chili Bowl and taste the half smoke. NOMA, which is short for North of Massachusetts Avenue, and Union Market in Northeast. They're both some of the fastest growing parts of the city. These are former warehouse areas that are turned into art spaces, record stores, restaurants, and nightclubs. This is a very popular spot for locals to live right now. Navy Yard, we see pictured here in Southeast, has a beautiful waterfront park, as well as Nationals Park, which is DC's baseball field, and Audi Field, the home of our men's and women's pro soccer teams. Lastly, we have Adams Morgan, is one of the better known and beloved spots for nightlife and shopping. It also has really unique international cuisines and people watching. Don't miss their annual outdoor music festival, which they call Porch Fest.
Well, all those neighborhoods are home to beautiful parks. In fact, 25% of Washington, D.C. is parkland. And for the last 6 or 7 years, we've been awarded best park system in the nation. There's just so many great green spaces in D.C. And the great news is you really don't need a car to reach most of them. Rock Creek Park is America's oldest urban national park. It's twice the size of Central Park, and it runs right through the middle of the city. You can go horseback riding in Rock Creek Park or simply take a hike. You will feel like you are in the middle of the woods, even though you are in the middle of DC. Meridian Hill Park or Malcolm X Park is a really beloved local park, another great spot for people watching or just getting a coffee to hang out with friends. And every Sunday afternoon, there is a drum circle there if you want to dance to the drums. We mentioned it before, but DC has two rivers, the Potomac and the Anacostia, and there's a bunch of boathouses up and down the river. So there's lots of opportunities if you want to go kayaking, canoeing, or paddleboarding on those rivers as well. Honestly, as a local, the amount of green space really adds to the livability of DC. It's one of my favorite aspects of living here. And of course, probably the most famous park in the city is the National Mall that we've talked about before. It is home to so many great monuments and memorials. The Lincoln Memorial actually has a brand new museum that just opened underneath it. Iconic sites like the Jefferson Memorial, the Dr. King Memorial, the Washington Monument. But there's also a lot of big green fields on the National Mall, and you will see people playing sports there. So if you ever wanted to join a kickball league or ultimate frisbee, a ton of those play on the National Mall. It's just such a fun activity to do with these incredible monuments right behind you. You can also tour the monuments in a lot of different ways. You can walk them, you can bike them, you can take hop on, hop off buses, you can even hire a pedicab. And we have some new memorials to check out while you're down there. The Dwight Eisenhower Memorial over by the Air and Space Museum, the World War I Memorial, which is actually just north of the mall, closer to the White House. And then this October, the Desert Storm Desert Shield Memorial will be dedicated just north of where the Lincoln Memorial is. The National Mall is very popular to visit at all times of day, very safe to visit at all times of day. So definitely add to your DC bucket list, walking around the memorials at night at least once. They're lit up beautifully, and it's just an iconic only in DC experience. As Lindsay mentioned, we have 80 museums. So this is just a great place to spend some time, especially if you love museums. You have the 16 Smithsonian museums. Each of those is the size of a city block. So pace yourself. Don't try to see them all in one day. The great news about living here is you can come back anytime, and these museums are free to visit. You've also got some really cool off the beaten path museums. One I wanted to highlight here is the Mansion on O Street. This is in the DuPont Circle neighborhood. The Mansion on O is honestly hard to describe. It's better to be experienced. It's 6 townhouses that are all connected together. There's over 70 secret doors connecting all these different rooms. Each room has a theme. There's a Halloween room. There's a room full of Beatles memorabilia. There's a room where Rosa Parks lived for many years. And everything in the museum is for sale. So it's really like the greatest estate sale you've ever been to. If you ever need a moment of creative inspiration, if you want something to spark some creativity, or if you just want to take somebody on a very cool first date, the Mansion on O Street is a great choice. We have great private museums. One of the most popular is the International Spy Museum, well worth the price of admission to learn about the history of espionage and try your hand at some tradecraft. I will also say the International Spy Museum has one of the better museum gift shops. So that's another great spot to do some shopping while you're here. Most of the museums in DC are open 10 to 5, but many offer special late night programming now. For example, Live at the Library, which happens at the Library of Congress every Thursday, includes live music, food and drink, and you can view their exhibits into the evening. The Phillips Collection, which is a private modern art museum in DuPont Circle, has their Phillips After 5 programming every month on a Thursday. And then this fall, the National Gallery of Art will host monthly nighttime events. Each of those is themed. I'm really looking forward to the Halloween themed night in October. For a lot of these, for example, Live at the Library and National Gallery, these are free to visit, but because these programs are popular, you do need to make a reservation and make a timed entry pass reservation in advance. And speaking of that, some of DC's most popular museums, even the free ones to visit, do require a timed entry pass. I have them listed out here. If you're planning to head to the Air and Space Museum, the National Museum of African American History and Culture, or you want to see that new baby elephant at the zoo, plan ahead. Make sure you book those tickets online. There's a couple like the National Archives and Ford's Theater. You don't have to have a ticket, but we do recommend it. Lindsay, do you want to talk about some of our new museums?
I would love to. As I mentioned, DC always has something new happening. I feel like on an annual basis at this point. So if you have been someone who comes to DC a lot, I want to make sure you know that there is something new for you to experience. So here are 3 museums or updates to museums that you may want to be aware of. A very new museum which just opened not even a year ago, near right on footsteps away from the White House, is the Milken Center for Advancing the American Dream. This is a completely free museum that really explores the definition of the American dream, how every American defines that differently, and how you can achieve the American dream. It's a very, very high-tech, really cool museum to explore. And they also talk about financial literacy because most of the presidents banked there when it was the Riggs Bank back in the day. The National Archives Museum has a few new features. They have 2 brand new permanent exhibits, one on how they sort of depict and showcase the different documents that they honor and warehouse in the archives. And that is an AI featured exhibit where you can actually save documents. And then they also have a discovery zone, which is more younger based learner, but I found it very fun. There's lots of different games to play in there. And then we also have in the rotunda, permanently on display now, is the 19th Amendment and the Emancipation Proclamation. Also brand new to the city that just opened in June is the National Geographic Museum of Exploration. So National Geographic has its headquarters in Washington, D.C., and they now have a brand new museum installation with permanent exhibits as well as rotating exhibits and a international food hall and a night show and different events, including trivia. We all know DC people love trivia, so there is a trivia night. So make sure to check that out. Okay, who doesn't like a little shopping? We all love it. And there's different ways to shop in DC. We're going to start with your more eclectic, providing, some very localized DC owned businesses some love. So if you're wanting to check out some local merchandise, Eastern Market is a great place to start. This is a very old, continuously run market in regards of the city and of the country. So this is one of the most continuously run markets in Washington, D.C. During the weekdays, they do have the market indoors that operates every day, where you can get fresh produce, as well as bakery items and other things of that sort. But on the weekends, they turn into a gigantic flea market where local artisans are selling their crafts, You can see from this picture, you can get fresh produce, and there is a shop that sells blueberry buckwheat pancakes that are well known. Union Market is, as we mentioned, is sort of a really up and coming and really sought after neighborhood at the moment. They also have very localized DC owned shops where you can get made in DC products, and records and things of that sort. So really worth a spin. And then every Sunday, Georgetown, which is very close to American University, has a flea market that you can wander through. In terms of your more general shopping environments, we do have those options for you. Georgetown as well has some of your more high-end and basic shopping like TJ Maxx and of that sort, mostly on that M Street and Wisconsin Avenue areas. In DuPont Circle, we also have the beloved Kramer's bookstore and cafe where you can get a book and also a coffee and maybe some brunch, which is a religion in DC, brunch and happy hour. Don't forget it. The Fashion Center at Pentagon City is one of your more traditional malls with a food court that is accessible on the Metro, on the Yellow Line. And then we also have the Tyson's Corner Mall, which you can utilize. Georgia mentioned our water taxi that also can take you to the Tanger outlets in National Harbor, where you can really spend that cash on your new wardrobes for the new school year. DC is also great for vintage and thrift stores. So if you're into that sort of eclectic attire, which if you need some recommendations, please email Georgia@washington.org. She loves that. You can find a bunch of inspiration for those shops on washington.org. We have an entire page on secondhand and thrift stores. And I'm a theater girl. I love going to theater shows. I love Broadway. And DC has some of the best theater in the country. Outside of New York and Broadway, we have a huge theater community. A lot of local talent performs in our shows here in DC. And then we also have shows that are created from the ground up that premiere in DC. So, two theaters that we really wanted to point out. The Folger Shakespeare Library. They focus on Shakespearean works, but they also do many other kinds of shows. They've received the Tony for Best Local Theater in the past. So please make sure to check that out. And then you have Arena Stage, which really does homegrown shows as well as premieres. So this theater has actually premiered pre-Broadway shows like Dear Evan Hansen before they've gone to Broadway. So if you go and see those shows before they make it big in New York City, you can brag that you saw it before they did. So we also have so many great theaters. Theater DC, make sure you tag that website because you can search for any show that's happening in Washington, DC and see what's happening, especially at Ford's Theater. You have this fall the return of Come From Away, which is going to be there 10 years after it premiered at Ford's Theater before it went to Broadway. We also have a huge amount of comedy shows, especially DC Improv. DC is actually a huge comedy scene and improv and stand-up comedy scene. Chris Rock was from DC. A lot of people test their new shows at the DC Improv Club before they take them on their tours. So this is a really great way to see some of your favorite comedy artists.
And of course, when it comes to live performance, we also really punch above our weight when it comes to music. Did you know DC actually has its own music genre? Go-go music was invented in DC in the 1980s. It's the official music of DC. It combines hip hop and R&B rhythms with Afro-Caribbean rhythms, and it is impossible to listen to and not dance. You will hear go-go all over the city. It's just such a cool thing that exists only here in the district. Ever since Duke Ellington grew up in the Shaw neighborhood, we've been known for jazz. So you got great jazz clubs on U Street. You've also got Blues Alley, which is in Georgetown. That's another great spot for jazz. And then we have a really strong punk, hardcore, and DIY scene. This goes back to the 1980s, Black Flag and Minor Threat, Fugazi. These are all DC-based bands. Today, you can head to smaller venues like Rhizome, which is a maker space, Comet Ping Pong, and Pie Shop. Pictured here. These are all really great places to catch smaller local acts and also smaller touring acts as well. Of course, we have every major sports team, men's and women's sports in the city. And one of the coolest things about DC is pretty much all of our sports venues are metro accessible. So again, you don't need a car to go to a lot of these sporting events.
And in 2030, when the Washington Commanders have their new stadium back in DC, we will be the only city that has every major sports team metro accessible. So we're super excited about that. Speaking of football, one thing that may be exciting to you with having living in DC or having a student in DC is that we are hosting the NFL draft this year in 2027. You'll see the dates there, April 29th through May 1st. This is the first time that the draft will be attempting an outdoor location. So the draft will be occurring directly on the National Mall as depicted in this rendering. And there will be fan zones and other things happening during this 3-day event. So mark your calendar, book your hotel now. It's going to be a really, really cool event. DC also is not shy of festivals. We love festivals. We know how to throw large, big events. You may have heard one of our largest festival, the largest spring festival in the world, I believe, is the National Cherry Blossom Festival that occurs the last 2 weeks of March into the first 2 weeks of April. So this festival is always 3 weeks of activities that surround peak bloom of the cherry blossoms. Trees that were gifted to DC from the Japanese government. These are primarily around the tidal basin, which you see pictured here, which is close to the Washington Monument and the Jefferson Memorial and the MLK Memorial. But we also have cherry blossom trees throughout the entire city. Some places to peak those if you don't want to be in the crowds would be Dumbarton Oaks, the Basilica in the northeast area, and Capitol Hill and Haynes Point. These are and the National Arboretum, which actually has a self-guided tour of different blooms of the cherry blossoms, which are different than the ones you see on the National Mall. Please note though that we never know exactly when peak bloom is going to be. So if you're trying to decide when you're going to come in and check that out, I would wait for peak bloom to be announced by the Park Service in early March. All right, Passport DC. This is truly an only in DC opportunity. We have over 200 embassies or cultural institutions in DC, which is the most of any capital in the world because of our proximity to the White House. And with that comes a slew of cultural creativity and inspiration for our cuisines and other things for the city. And so every May, the first 2 Saturdays, the embassies open their doors and do open houses. So one weekend is always European Union, one weekend is around the world, and upwards of 50 embassies will participate for you to wander through, and they'll showcase food, dance, different crafts. It's really quite an amazing way to travel the world without leaving the city. And then one of our beloved homegrown festivals is DC Jazz Festival. As Georgia mentioned, we are one of the home bases for the creation of jazz music, and this occurs every Labor Day weekend. So this year it will be in that September 4th through 6th time period for the main activities. This happens at that Wharf waterfront area, but also takes over the entire city and grows every year. A lot of those activities are free of charge, and some do have tickets to participate, but that's a great way to spend the Labor Day weekend in DC. Rounding out our festivals, every August, the Library of Congress hosts a National Book Festival at the Convention Center with panelists and authors of different genres. This year, Cynthia Erivo is one of the main panelists or speakers, and then you can get books signed. That also is a free event. And then don't sleep on DC for the holidays. For all of you sticking around and before your finals and everything like that, make sure you take advantage of all the wonderful holiday activities DC has. We have, I think, 4 ice skating rinks. The one pictured here is at the National Gallery of Arts Sculpture Garden, which they turn into an ice rink. We have zoo lights. We have shows at the theaters. We have high teas at many of our hotels. It's just and then the different holiday trees and menorahs on the National Mall and the Capitol. So it's really quite a magical time.
I don't know how we went this long without talking about the food in DC because it's one of my favorite topics, especially when you meet somebody new in DC, ask them their favorite place to eat. We really punch above our weight again when it comes to food. As Lindsay mentioned, we have over 200 cultural institutions and embassies in the city. So this means you have food from all over the world here. Definitely branch out, try food that you've never tried before here in the district. DC's home to the most Ethiopian people in the world outside of the continent of Africa. So definitely try Ethiopian food and Ethiopian coffee while you're here. We are on the East Coast. We've got great seafood. Chesapeake Bay is, of course, known for oysters and those famous blue crabs. You can get those around the city. Mumbo sauce was invented in DC. This is like kind of a sweet, spicy, sour sauce that you usually see with chicken wings. You will see that all over the district. Definitely try mumbo sauce. And half smoke, invented at Ben's, is the DC version of a chili dog. Absolutely delicious. DC is home to 25 Michelin-starred restaurants. That's more than Chicago, if you're counting. Now, those tend to be on the higher end, but Michelin also puts out a list of restaurants they call Bib Gourmand. These are restaurants that are really high quality, but generally at a slightly lower price point than the Michelin Guide. But bookmark those Bib Gourmand restaurants for when your parents come into town and they're paying. You got a lot of great options there. DC also has some really good cheap eats. Rasa has multiple locations. This is fast casual Indian food, absolutely delicious. Bar Taco has a few locations, really great tacos there, both vegetarian and meat options. And then Roaming Rooster is one of the many excellent places that you can get a chicken sandwich in the city. These are just a few. We've got plenty more of these listed on washington.org. We update this website every single week, so it's full of what's new in the city. We've got lists of all suggested dining, best brunches, best cheap eats, best late night eats. We've got neighborhood guides. If you want to take the metro and just explore a new neighborhood, you're wondering what's there, we can check out our website. We've got lists for all of those as well. And then we always put out event listings, things to do this weekend, things to do this week, things to do this month, things to do next month. So that can be super helpful for planning your weekends in advance as well. You can also follow us on social media. We have 2 different social media sides here. On the consumer side, this is going to be your trip inspiration, why you should come to DC. The industry side, if you're interested in working in tourism or you're wondering what we're doing as a tourism office, you can follow us there on all the major social media platforms. I also recommend signing up for our monthly newsletter. It's called the DC Insider, and it's just a rundown of things that are happening in the district. It's a great way to remind yourself to get out and explore. Well, we have just scratched the surface of all the incredible things to do in Washington, D.C., but we wanted to take this time here to see if there are any questions. I'm not seeing any in the chat, and I don't know if there's any in like a Q&A format.
Yes, I'm not seeing any in the Q&A as well.
Okay, well, I guess that means we did our job. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time. Hopefully, this is helpful to you. And again, we're here. Washington.org is always here as a resource to you. And I just really hope that you enjoy the time that you spend in DC.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lindsay and Georgia. We really, really appreciate your time tonight. So thank you for giving back to the American University community. As you all know, this was recorded, so I'll make sure that we upload it to our website. So if anyone wants to refer back to it when you come visit and whatnot, please come check out these really cool places that they highlighted throughout this presentation. Follow them on social media, engage with us. I just see a question that's what's the IG account? So can we go
Yes,
back to that slide real quick,
yes.
actually?
So it's at Visit Washington, D.C. or at Destination DC.
Yep. And one of the more popular pages on Washington.org as well is our What's Happening This Weekend page, which is updated every week by our content team. So if you want to bookmark that so you know every up and coming thing, that really cool things that are happening over the weekend, that's the best page to really keep an eye on. I think I saw another one come through. Ah, oh, this is a great question. We actually did a webinar earlier today about the Grand Prix event. Any tips on navigating the mall this weekend with all of the barriers for the Grand Prix race? I guess that question would depend on exactly what you're trying to do or what you're trying to avoid. Most of the impact is going to be from uh, First Street, or Third Street, which is where the front of the US Capitol building, to about 7th Street, and then eking their way into a little further. So there will be museums impacted by the Grand Prix race this weekend, including the American Indian Museum, Air and Space, National Gallery of Art, um, the Archives and Natural History Museum. If you do not have tickets to the Grand Prix on Saturday and Sunday, you unfortunately will not be able to access those museums this weekend. You do need to have a ticket to access those museums. On Friday, you will have to go through security, but those museums will be available for you to visit. The other museums will not be impacted, but just be aware of road closures and higher security in that National Mall area. I hope that answers that question.
The DC's mayor's office also has a really great map on their website with that shows what's fully closed off, what's only open to local traffic, things like that, with the timings as well. So best Metro app to download, I would say Metro Pulse. That's the official one. That's a really good one. Um, in terms of how the AU move will be impact specifically this weekend, and I'm not really sure what that's in reference to, but
Yeah, but I think American would be very far removed from the
right.
activities and would not be impacted. But Anna, I will let you speak to that.
Yes, I was just gonna say the same is refer to those maps that Georgia and Lindsay were talking about just to check your route into the city and how you're navigating getting to campus because those are the high peak areas that you would want to avoid. And just read that email from housing, which will give instructions on where to park and how to get to campus.
Mhm. Um, Actually, Georgia, if you want to go back to that map where I had American University, the Google map,
Oh yeah,
I can
it's gonna.
show
I'll
real
jump all the way
quickly
back
a
there.
better explanation. Because I know when you're not here in DC, you're not very familiar. It feels like everything is very impacted. So yes, we are a small town, but we are also very big at the same time. So you'll see American University up in this upper northwest area. All of the Grand Prix activities will be all the way down here near the US Capitol. So there really will not be any impacts to American University's traffic unless you're driving through the downtown area, which I really don't anticipate. So I recommend just, skirting around it up, or down from the Pennsylvania, Maryland area. There was also a question about the best app for Metro. Um, I mean, Metro has a website with a trip planner that's metroopensdoors.com. In terms of an app, there's quite a few that can kind of play with. The one I have personally is called Metro and Bus for DC. But even if you just use your map app at this point and choose public transportation, it's very good at this point of telling you which line you need to get on, what stops you need to get off, and things of that sort. So it's pretty easy to navigate that metro system.
All right. Anna, are you seeing any other questions come through?
I am not seeing any other questions. So again, just thank you all for being here. If you do have any questions, feel free to either reach out to us, Georgia, or Lindsay. We'll connect you to the right people with whatever question you have. But just want to wish everyone safe travels as they transition either back to American University or if you're joining us for your first time this fall. But really, really excited to have you all here, and hopefully you found some new things you're excited to explore in DC.
Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful year.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.